Guys, I don't know how well you can see this, but it is snowing in South Carolina in November, which does not happen. That's very unusual. Can't see on video the northern lights. There's this kind of a pinkish hue to the sky. I wish I could get it on camera. I don't know how to do long exposure for the video. But it's cold and my hair's wet, so I'm going in. My hair's over here. Lagos, I guess that's how you say it, to Atlanta, Delta. Hey guys, we are back to doing our weekly vlogs here in November. I took last week off just to decompress after Vlogtober. But we are back. I just had my hot chocolate. It was very good. But we need to talk about what we're reading this week, starting with our weekly quote, who's by somebody who we don't support, but I have to read the weekly quote. Fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us dragons can be beaten. So that's our weekly quote. And let's go through the weekly TBR now, which is right here. You would have seen it at the start of the video, but we're gonna go more in depth. Sadly, I didn't get to the Yuletide Guide's High to High Strangeness today because I had to film so many, I had to film a lot of TikToks, but I also, had the sit-down video I had to film for the week. But this one is about spooky things at Christmas time, paranormal things at Christmas time, people's real experiences, and how they can connect to folklore or mythology from the past. Next, we have our main focus for the week. I'm at like a quarter of the way. I think I'm at 24% of the way into the book, and that is Invisible Child, Poverty, Survival, and Hope in an American City by Andrew Elliott. This was also winner of the Pulitzer Prize. I am doing the audiobook for this, and one of the narrators for my favorite book is narrating this book, so I love that. And my favorite book is The Love Song of W.E.B. Du Bois. I feel like I left out a letter by Honoré Fannin Jeffers. It's my favorite book. But this one is a nonfiction. It's actually the second highest rated nonfiction book on my TBR according to Goodreads. I am going to read the description of the book for y'all. Invisible Child Pulitzer Prize winner Andrea Elliott follows 8 dramatic years in the life of Dasani, a girl whose imagination is as soaring as the skyscrapers near her Brooklyn shelter. In this sweeping narrative, Elliott weaves the story of Dasani's childhood with the history of her ancestors, tracing their passage from slavery to the Great Migration north. As Dasani comes of age, New York City's homeless crisis has exploded, deepening the chasm between rich and poor. She must guide her siblings through a world riddled by hunger, violence, racism, drug addiction, and the threat of foster care. Out on the street, Dasani becomes a fierce fighter to protect those who I love. When she finally escapes city life to enroll in a boarding school, she faces an impossible question. What if leaving poverty means abandoning your family and yourself? A work of luminous and riveting prose, Andrea Elliott's Invisible Child is an astounding story about the power of resilience, the importance of family, and the cost of inequality, told through the crucible of one remarkable girl. So that's what I'm currently reading. I am annotating, and I'll be back later to tell you all my thoughts of the day. Next, we have my mood read. So I picked this one because it's about family, and I feel like family with November, they go together because American Thanksgiving is in November. And this one is An Unlasting Home by Mai Nakabib. I might be mispronouncing that. But this one, it is the debut novel, I can definitely tell it's a debut novel, from an award-winning short story writer. A richly imagined saga spanning Lebanon, Iraq, India, and the United States and Kuwait that brings to life the triumphs and failures of 3 generations of Arab women. So we're reading that one. And then my ebook pick that I am struggling with, if I'm being honest with y'all, is Salvage the Bones by Jesmyn Ward. This was a National Book Award winner. And this one is following this group of siblings, but mainly Esh, I don't know how you pronounce her name, but she's 15. She's really the only girl, you know, in this family because her mother passed away, and I mean, she has no sister, so she again is only 15. She finds out that she's pregnant, and then the family's dog, it just gave birth. And I say family dog, it's a dog that's part of a dog fighting ring. This is taking place all in 2005 in Mississippi, and there's a hurricane coming, and that hurricane's Hurricane Katrina. So that's that, and those are all the books that I'm currently reading. It's time for the nightly reading update. I got to 38%, so I read 69 pages in Invisible Child. We are going to be going over my notes. That's what the nightly reading update is about. Like 2 pages in today, we have a note and with Chanel. So Chanel is Dasani's mother. It was not Chanel's way to care what others thought. That is something so hard to live by. That is how I live by. You just do your thing. Because I've seen so many people lately being like, when are you putting your Christmas decorations up on Facebook? I've been seeing people ask this. And I comment, I'm like, do what makes you happy. Do not care about all these other people. It does not matter, especially something like that. And then just this line, I thought it was beautiful. So Chanel's mother passed away, and she has to like do all the paperwork, you know, all the stuff that I've been doing since April. But how long have you known the deceased? Read the last question on the form. In careful script, Chanel wrote 3 words, all my life. And I was like, oh my gosh, kind of emotional. As I'm reading today, I am wondering, do we need that background story on Chanel and everything? But at the same time, I do feel like that is necessary for the story. But at this point, is this getting kind of slowed down where I'm kind of bored? I feel like we're going in circles. I mean, we are following somebody's life for 8 years, and it's real life, you know, this is nonfiction. But as I said, I feel like we're going in circles, kind of repetitive. I'm growing bored. So I do think this could have been slimmed down, but I'm not going to fully commit to that yet, because by the end of the book, I could be like, okay, yeah, we needed all of that. But at the moment, it is kind of slowing down for me. Even though the chapters in this are really short, on the audiobook, they're, you know, anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes long. I listen on double speed, so these chapters are only about 10 pages in length, which is fantastic and does go by really quickly physically reading. But as I said, when it's the same stuff over and over, it's getting repetitive. So much of this is survival instincts. A lot of times when we think of survival, we don't picture like inner city. We picture being out in the woods. I think the Hunger Games, that we kind of think of that as a survival story, even though like it is that, but I think it's something way more. And there's just so many. Lauren Groff is someone who is the queen of survival stories. She perfects it, and she's done it in modern settings. She's done it in historical outside settings, but so much of what we're seeing in this book is Dasani and her siblings and other people in Brooklyn who are just trying to survive out here. And this is something that I really struggle with. So Dasani, she has trouble at school getting along with others. And so her quote, "Because I don't like to be nice, because then kids take advantage." And that's with me, where I am too nice and I get all these people and I'm just like, I don't know how to get myself out of situations. I mean, now I have kind of learned, and, you know, I've looked up other people's experiences who have been in situations where I've been in, where I'm like, how do I remove myself from this? Because I don't necessarily think the people are bad people. Dasani there, I don't think you should be mean to other people and begin in physical fights like she is. And it goes into of what her therapist tells her, like the lady she works with at school. Okay, her counselor at school. I was like, what is that word? Why did that not come to mind? As we were talking about survival, so Supreme is Dasani's stepfather, but he's really like the only father she's ever known. So we have him who he did work as a barber for a time period, and it's like, okay, why is he so skilled at that? It is because he was a kid of the system, you know, where he had to really take care of his siblings and would have to cut their hair. And then now we have, it shows him cooking, getting ready for this party. So people are like, some people reading this are probably like, well, how did he get to be such a good cook? So it was a skill that Supreme was forced to learn at age 7, making meals out of random ingredients. And then go down a little bit. Hunger forces people to cook, but a chef must possess talent. But yes, that's how he got that talent, is because he was trying to survive, take care of his siblings. And yeah, there was my note about this might be too long. And this is really just showing how there is such a class divide in America. And in Brooklyn, especially in this time period, the 2010s, we're really seeing that, because Brooklyn's getting, I can never say this word, gentrified. That is happening there, where you have Spike Lee, he really went off. They had one of his like speeches in here of these, I mean, in my head I was like, this is like colonization. You've had a black community in this town, where I don't know what to call it, in this borough, I guess, and they've been there a long time, I don't know how many years, and now you have all these rich white people wanting to bulldoze everything down and make it, you know, how they want it. Now, I guess that is gentrification. I guess that is a form of colonization. That's what it feels like to me. And that just shows to me that there's such a class issue in this country. And obviously here we are seeing it with black people, where, I mean, already the system's against them, and then throw class in on top of it. This is what you get. And then we have oh, my tabs fell out. We have kind of the history of welfare and how it came to be. But it says, black women had to fight to join welfare's rolls. Drawn north by the Great Migration, millions of African Americans had resettled in New York City, which became the base for a national welfare rights movement. By 1975, 11 million Americans were receiving welfare cash, most of them children and single mothers. Black families made up 44% of this group, or representing less than 10% of the nation's population. The words welfare queen caught fire by the following year in 1976, when presidential hopeful Ronald Reagan, because everything stems back to him, took the stage at a campaign rally. In Chicago, and this is his quote, "In Chicago, they found a woman who holds the record," Reagan declared. "She used 80 names, 30 addresses, 15 telephone numbers to collect food stamps, Social Security, veterans benefits for 4 non-existent deceased veterans' husbands, as well as welfare. Her tax-free cash income alone had been running $150,000 a year." It did not matter that Reagan had chosen an extreme outlier to represent the masses. She was identified as Linda Taylor, a con artist in Chicago investigated for homicides, baby trafficking, and kidnapping. She bore no resemblance to women like Grandma Joni, that's Dasani's grandmother, whose own welfare assistance would peak at $650 monthly, scarcely enough to cover clothing, meals, school supplies, and the other needs of 2 dependent children. And that right there is where a lot of rhetoric stemmed from, was Ronald Reagan saying all of that, because I know people in my own life who are like, oh, they're just tricking the system to get all this. And I'm like, okay, like, why when I go to the grocery store, when I see people, you know, that are like using food stamps and all that, it's only families and all, like, I don't understand this logic of, you know, people taking this extreme, because that's why you need to be careful of what you say. We talk about people spreading false information about a lot of different things, and people take that and they run with it, even though that case of what Ronald Reagan was saying, he took it to an extreme outlier, therefore generalizing a whole mass of people, millions of people who are on welfare. And people don't do their research, especially in this time period where you don't have access to the internet. My internet just went out, but you don't have access to the internet. You know, you don't have information isn't accessible as it is now. And even now, people, they don't want to do their research because people are lazy. They don't go and look at the facts and statistics. That's why I read, because I want to learn. And they just go with it. That's why you got to be careful about what you're saying, what you're putting out there into the world. Because then there's rhetoric that, again, what is this? That was in 1976. Almost 50 years ago, and people were still saying that same kind of SHIT. And those are my... Oh, okay, there was one more thought. So there is a lakeside camp in upstate New York where homeless children go for free, sleeping in tents, roasting marshmallows. I think that's fantastic. I don't know if they're still doing that, but I know a lot of people just don't believe in helping others. I don't know what... I think it's because that kind of stuff we just saw from Ronald Reagan. They think everybody in welfare, everybody who needs help is like that. I just want to help people. I want children to have good childhoods and be happy, have food in their belly, be warm. But, you know, people are awful. So those are my thoughts from The Invisible Child for the day. I am at the halfway point in Salvage the Bones by Jesmyn Ward. So I just want to give like an update on my thoughts. This book isn't for me. It's given 2-star vibes, if I'm being honest with y'all. So the characters, I like Ish, I'm not sure how you say her name. I do like her, but I'm not really feeling an emotional connection to her. I like having her in her dialogue. I like that she's into mythology and the classical world, I guess. I'm really into that, so I am liking all those references that we are getting in the book. But then Skeeta, the brother, I don't know if he's supposed to have kind of psychopath vibes. He creeps me out. Like, I get really weird vibes from him, and I am curious where that's gonna go. All the other characters, they mean nothing to me. I'm like, they're there. They're fine. It's whatever. They're not doing anything for me. The atmosphere, no, I said this with the previous Jesmyn Ward book that I read. She perfects the Deep South. She perfects the South. The dialect, the culture, the ecosystem, whatever, you know, the land, she hits the nail on the head. I don't know where she is from. Okay, she lives in a place in Mississippi. I'm not gonna try to pronounce that town, but yeah, she understands. She is one of the best writers to write a southern atmosphere. Great job. And then, like, as we are waiting for Hurricane Katrina to hit on us, obviously we know that it's Hurricane Katrina, but they, like, you know, they don't know what that means. Like, if you say Hurricane Katrina now, I'm sure you get an image in your head. I see New Orleans, I see water up to the roofs of houses. Like, there's an image in my head, you know? But at this point, again, they don't know what that means. There's like, it's another storm out there, whatever, you know? And that kind of has me kind of freaked out, because I'm like, I'm somebody who's so accustomed to hurricanes. I live somewhere where hurricanes happen. Our hockey team is even named the Carolina Hurricanes, you know? So it's something that I'm so used to, but it's like, where it's like, yeah, there's a storm out there, whatever. You never know if it's going to be a hurricane. Like Hurricane Helene, nobody knew that storm was going to be how it was. Like that, no, that nobody knew it was going to be like that. But so there is kind of this ominous tone of knowing that something bad is out there. But the writing, no, I do not like this writing. It is purple prose galore. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just so long-winded. I don't need all of these details. And as for the plot, again, very much a quiet book. I don't know what the author Jesmyn Ward is trying to do with this book. I don't understand what the purpose is, other than we're just seeing these people's day-to-day lives. I don't know if the Greek influence is going to have anything with it, if it's going to be kind of like a retelling, kind of inspired by Medea and Jason, Achilles and Patroclus. I don't know if we're going to have inspiration from that, but it feels like it should, just because of all the, like, I keep feeling like there is metaphors here, but I don't know if there actually is going to be. But I was having kind of some theories early on in the book with that. But yeah, I don't know what the point of this is. I don't know what the writer is trying to do. Now, the intrigue is interesting, because I'm curious what's in the next book, because this is a trilogy. And then there's some of her other books that are like her one that was like taking place in the 1800s that is connected to these books, but technically isn't in the trilogy for them. So I'm curious where the next book goes, of what kind of story it follows, because I have a lot of ideas of what could happen, but with the writing style, I'm just kind of bored with it. That's my update on Salvage the Bones at the halfway point. For the nightly update, it is Tuesday, 11/11, Veterans Day. Shout out to all the veterans out there. But I got to 51% into Invisible Child, so I want to go over the notes that I took today. There's not that many, probably like 5 or 6. One, teachers are so important. Just seeing the impact that these teachers, Miss Holmes, Miss Hester, that they are having on Dasani and her siblings' lives, just, it's such a positive impact, and they're just such great figures for these little girls to look up to. And teachers just do so much. They are so important, and I respect them so much. Next we have, again, with the teachers. So Miss Holmes is the principal of the school, and she is trying to find out. She's like, I know Dasani and her sister, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the sister's name. It's like Aviana, I think. But she's like, I know they have a lot of potential, but I have to get them out of the situation that they're in. And so there's a school called the Milton Hershey School, which is in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Milton Hershey is the man who like invented Hershey. We'll get to him in a minute. But one time, Miss Holmes like took the kids on a field trip to, Hershey, Pennsylvania. There's like a theme park there. There's, a lot there. I've never been there personally, but it's, there's a lot there. And she said, it's exposure. How do kids think out of the box when they haven't seen anything out of the box? She says, it was almost like taking them beyond the walls of the boroughs. I'm not saying they went to college. I'm saying they saw. So like they could see, like for an instance, like taking them to college campuses so they can tour college campus, see what college is like, so it can inspire them to be like, that's something I want to strive for. I can get out of this situation that I'm in. So I think that is just fantastic. A little bit more than I wanted to say, but I am not remembering because I'm so hungry. I'm about to eat some leftovers and it's gonna be so good. Then we have one of the teachers gets evicted because they were clearing her building for renovation. And it says plenty of working New Yorkers have been uprooted by eviction. The city's lack of affordable housing is the primary reason that families enter the shelter system. And I think this is so fascinating because this has been a big talk with, the New York City election that happened last week. And Mayor de Blasio, is that how you say his name? He had a big thing of saying that he was going to, or like that was one of the things that he ran on, was affordable housing. So it's like, can anything really be done about it if 10 years ago somebody ran with that same campaign and here we are 10 years later with the same problem? I don't know, but I mean, yeah. So with this, what I'm saying is that in New York City, and probably in a lot of major cities, but again, this is the book I'm reading, so this is where my facts are coming from, with gentrification and things like that, these buildings are constantly having to be revamped. And therefore, people get kicked out there, then they can't afford it. So therefore they're on the street. So it's like, okay, you have to go to the root of the problem, and that is affordable housing. But I don't know how you fix it. I don't know. Okay, let's see what else. And these tabs, my tabs are always all over the place, guys. Okay, we have a blue tab here. And yes, this is all about the Milton Hershey guy. So Milton Hershey, he was born a few years before the Civil War to a Mennonite family in Pennsylvania. And they were all over the place. They were constantly moving. And it was, his parents' relationship was just kind of unconventional. And he finally moves to New York City, to Manhattan, during the Gilded Age in the 1890s. He's around the likes of Rockefeller, who's oil, and Carnegie, and JP Morgan, all, those big names that essentially run the world, especially at that time period. And he is this a country boy from Pennsylvania. He is poor, and he makes this huge, this company, Hershey. Y'all have all heard of Hershey. But Milton and his wife Kitty, they cannot have children, so he wants to help children who were in a similar situation that he was in growing up. So he opens what starts as an orphanage and then becomes the Milton Hershey School, which is the school that Dasani gets sent to. This school is only, you have to be like a certain pay grade to get into the school, and it's very hard to get into of how they choose people. I don't know how many people go to the school, but it's only for low-income families, families in poverty. At the school he makes, and it really just gives them the chance that if they stayed with their families, that they most likely wouldn't get, because again, there's a systematic issue with class in this. This quote that by Milton Hershey: "It's a sin for a man to die rich," because he was just giving so much back to the school. And yeah, at this school, they don't have to pay for like anything. They like, even for the teachers, like, because Hershey, think of Hershey, the chocolates, think of how much money they make. And all of that is going, I don't want to say all of it because I don't know, but a lot of it is going into these schools. As like, they flew teachers out for interviews. They do everything that these kids need, they are paying for. And this is so incredible to me that there is something like that, and I learned about it from this book. But with the writing and pacing and all that, it is starting to pick back up again as we are seeing Dasani at the boarding school, because that's just so different than we've been through for the whole first half of the book. We are seeing, you know, what her life in poverty is like, and now we are also seeing what the impact that her leaving has on her family, because, you know, she was like a second parent, or third, I guess, because, you know, there's the two parents, than her, taking care of the kids, taking care of all her younger siblings, and now she's gone. So it's like, what happens to those kids? What happens with her parents? So we're seeing both sides of the coin of the impact that her being sent away, which her mother, Chanel, she knows this is for the best. She's telling everybody, she's like, this is for the best because I want her to have the opportunities that I didn't have. So that is all for the day in Invisible Child. I have gotten to another halfway point, this time in An Unlasting Home. We are going to go over my notes, only the second quarter notes, but let's see what I have first. Yeah, Vanity, with the character of Yasmin, who would she be my favorite? It's really hard to say who my favorite is because I like all of them. Sarah would be my least favorite, or Sarah, no. I'm forgetting how they say her name because it's not pronounced Sarah how we pronounce it, but she is our modern day character who is basically descended, blood and not blood related, from all the other characters in the book. So she is in modern day Kuwait and has been accused of blasphemy because she is kind of an atheist. Yeah, I would say she's an atheist, but she was raised Muslim, and in the kind of country that Kuwait is, she got in trouble. Now let's see, what else do I have on here? Yeah, New Beginnings. This has happened in a lot of the books I've been reading lately with Chanel Miller's Know My Name. I read that one last week, and that book, well, there were so many new beginnings for her because once she reported the assault and went to press charges, she became Emily Doe. And when she went to write the book, she was reclaiming herself, her name, and her story. So we see a lot of rebirths. And in here we have, really in our first section, but I mean, we're starting to see it in our next sections as well. So like Sarah, I don't really know what her restart would be, but like Lua, she gets married and moves to a new country that isn't even the same religion, language, anything like that. So it is completely new territory for her. Now Yasmin, she is our rebellious. She's kind of rebellious, and she is from Lebanon. And she goes against what all the other people in her family have done before her. Because she's in love with this one guy, things don't really work out, not because of them, but because of other factors. So she's like, I'm going to go to Baghdad to be a teacher. And everybody's like, what in the world? Why would you do that when you can just go marry a rich man? And so she's just reclaiming, like, she's like, I'm going to be my own person. So we see a lot of new beginnings, and this is something that has been coming across in my reading lately. But yeah, back to Sarah. With her, it just shows when it rains, it pours. I know this from my own life and like the past, yeah, really all of 2025. I don't know if 2025 is the worst year of my life because 2021 was pretty bad as well. And with that, we had COVID on top of that. But just when one bad thing happens, it seems like it's one thing after another, like dominoes, you know, and it's gonna have to end eventually. And with this character, hopefully it does end eventually for her because I do not want her to, the possible things that could come if you get accused of blasphemy in this country, in Kuwait, it's not always good. So I'm hoping that it all works out for her. But now in the second section of the book, we have Maria. So Maria was kind of like a nanny for Sarah. She, you know, lived at the house, took care of the kids, you know, that kind of thing. Because this is historical fiction, by the way. We have our modern timeline and everything else is historical fiction. So Maria is from India, and well, first when we first learned her name, I didn't really know what kind of like ethnicity or anything like that to picture. But the names of her kids, they all were Latin sounding names. So I forgot about the Portugal. I don't know if I would say they colonized India because, again, I don't know that much historically, but they did have influence on India. And that is why there's Catholic churches in India. This was kind of in the Covenant of the Water by Abraham Verghese. I'm not remembering his last name. But in that book, it's briefly touched on. So it is something that this was a refresher. I'm like, oh yeah, Portugal did have influence on India because Maria is Catholic, and again with those kind of names, they're common Portuguese names. But yes, this book, why this is given like 3-star vibes, is it's doing too much. We are getting all these perspectives, and I feel like a ping pong ball being thrown around. I know that's only what I use, but kind of like a pinball, I think is the right word, a pinball being shot all around the game, where I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, so much is happening, and I don't know if we're not getting enough time to really develop the characters. Yeah, I like them, but I don't have an emotional connection to them. Maria's chapter was the one, her first chapter in the book was the one that had me like the most emotionally gripped, so I am trying to pay more attention to her chapters when I read them. I love the color of this book. I love how the light's hitting it. I love the like kind of cobalt blue. But yes, so it's just trying to do too much at once. There's too much going on and not enough development to it, or maybe not enough time with each plot point, because as I said, it's just very fast being thrown around. I mean, I would say it's a medium-paced book, but I am being thrown all over the place where I can't really just get a grasp of one storyline before I'm being shot to the other. So those are my thoughts so far on an Unlasting Home. It's Wednesday. We've been productive today. I started a new puzzle, the North Carolina one. Also got my flu shot, so the insurance didn't work yet. So I had to pay for it, but you know, healthy. But I read 83 pages and here was 68%, I think. So I should finish the book on Friday. Knock on wood that everything stays in tune and I'm able to do all of that reading. But we will go through my notes. I don't really have that many notes, but one thing I do want to point out. So with the pacing, you know, that's what we've been talking about a lot. These chapters are now like double the length of what they originally were at the start of the book. And I don't really like that because, as I said, at the first part of the book, first quarter, let's say, I was just flying through it, like 10-page chapters, very, you know, easy to get through. I mean, it's not an easy subject, but, you know, easy to read, and I didn't feel bogged down. But now I have, you know, yesterday I started feeling like the book was going on a little too long, and now we are still, you know, I feel like the book is going on too long, and now the chapters are double the length than they were at the start of the book. So that is just kind of making it difficult to read, making me just feel like, oh, can we get through this already? but let's see the notes. Okay, this one is really interesting about how poverty has an impact on the physical body. It says to be poor is to be stressed. So I'll just read the example here. A condition that all children experience to some degree. A young girl might dread getting a shot at the doctor's office. She sees the needle and her stress response system is activated. Her heart beats faster, her adrenaline surges, and her body is energized for fight versus flight, or flight. Once the threat passes, she returns to her physiological baseline, ideally with the help of a nurturing adult. But what if that threat continues day after day? Poor children tend to live with chronic stress. They have a greater exposure to violence, hunger, sleep, when you don't get enough sleep, and illness. A child like Dasani can get stuck in fight or flight mode, leading to an overproduction of cortisol and a surge in blood sugar. This can make her resistant to insulin, causing diabetes or obesity. It can accelerate, big science word, the heart disease that killed Dasani's grandmother at age 54. It can leave lasting wear and tear effects on a growing brain. When poor children fall behind in school with low test scores or behavioral setbacks, they are presumed to lack character or to suffer from bad genes. A new frontier research known as the neuroscience of poverty tells another story. So it goes into this guy, Seth Pollack, who is a child psychologist from the University of Wisconsin at Madison. He took 77 infants and followed them for 3 years of their lives. They're all from different economic backgrounds. So that is what he's doing. So if a child does produce higher levels of cortisol and the hormone, that's the hormone that promotes survival, the child becomes overly sensitive and hyperreactive. And I think a lot of times when people are like, with violence in poor communities, people are like, why does that happen? Why do these people get so angry that they shoot somebody or something like that? We have scientific backing that, because usually it is generational trauma. A lot of this book is generational trauma. I think that's the problem for a lot of this, and obviously that trauma, I think, comes from the system that this country is, the government. And yeah, that's a whole other kind of worm. So I just thought that was really interesting that there is science backing that people who do grow up in poverty might be more sensitive or hyperreactive, so therefore more violent, and even have earlier deaths because of all that stress at such a young age put onto the body. I found that all to be very interesting. And now we have when Dasani is, at her school, and sometimes when they're playing card games, it gets heated. Jason, so that's like one of her, like, chaperones at school, I guess. Okay, so he has noticed this pattern and wants Dasani to resist Only's being in charge. Because when they play the game, she likes to be, the one in charge. So left to her own devices, Dasani would settle every fight. Her family chalks this up to Dasani's bossy personality, but she sees it another way, and this is how I saw it exactly when I read that, she likes to be in charge. It says so this is how she sees it. She was given too many responsibilities at too young an age, and this shaped her personality. Yep, that is exactly what I think happened. And something that's so interesting about this book is we are seeing, this is like a coming of age story, but nonfiction. And we're not seeing it from Dasani's perspective. We're seeing it from an outsider perspective who is like watching Dasani's life. So I thought that was just a thought that, I had while reading it. And we see Dasani when she goes back to New York for the first time after, going away to school. So she goes back to Staten Island, and it's kind of like, I think culture shock is too strong of a word, but, she's switching like her dialect and the way she dresses, and she's just in a whole different atmosphere. And then seeing her family, so she's like, I don't even know if she realizes she's changed, but her siblings are like, you've changed, you sound white, and all of this. And the book does go into code switching and all of that, just to let y'all know, but that's not one of my notes here. But so Dasani, my note is, just because you grow doesn't mean others do as well. This is something that I have realized lately, especially this week. So Dasani was away, and it's like everybody who stayed at home was stagnant, and that's not particularly the case, because these people's lives are doing things, but I how do I put it into words? I know how to put it into words, but for the sake of YouTube, how do I put it into words? That everybody's going through their own thing. And just because you grow, you are at a different, you're on a different path. Everybody has their own path at their own. And everybody moves at their own pace. Everybody has their own pace. And this is some advice that I needed for Milton Hershey. When you tackle a job, stick to it until you have won the battle. Because I have just been, you know, I tell myself like, but at times, like when my TikTok and the YouTube video I posted yesterday only has 7 views and it's been up 22 hours at this point, I'm like, what did I do wrong? I'm like, like on TikTok, I used to be getting 200 views and now I'm lucky to get 20 views. And I just don't understand how the system works. And I know I get so many TikToks on my feed saying this is how you work the algorithm, and you know I do the things, but you know it doesn't work. It's all very interesting. So I'm just like, I mean, obviously I've been doing YouTube since 2012 and I am not monetized or anything, but so I do think I stick to it until the battle's won. It's a siege, you know, we're waiting and waiting and waiting, and one day we're gonna burst through those walls. And lastly, I'm just proud of Dasani, seeing her grow as a person, because I was thinking it must, like, when she first heard about the school in Hershey, her sister was supposed to go with her. And we see is how, I was like, how would you choose one? But her principal's like, no, both have to go. And I'm like, I think it's great that Dasani's other 7 siblings are going to have this positive person in their life, because they're like, our sister can do that. She can go off to school. She can do great things. She can get good grades. But at the same time, I'm like, she is a child. She is 14 at this point. She should not have that responsibility on her shoulders to be a positive influence on her siblings. That should be her parents. But I'm glad that they have somebody that they can look up to, but I don't want her to have to be the only one, you know. Kind of hard to word, but those are the thoughts. We broke the spine today. We originally just had this kind of, I don't know if you can see the curse. I don't think you can. Right there. But now we have broke the spine. That's the update for the day. Guys, it is Thursday. We will get into the reading update in a moment. But as y'all know, back in October, my glasses broke. So I currently have a backup backup pair, because these are all like scratched up. So that's why these are a backup pair, because I didn't get the resistant surface for these because it was more expensive. But now I have, you know, I placed a new order for glasses back in October. I got an email saying, you know, they had shipped after they went into production and all that. And it had been a little while since I had heard anything about, like, they hadn't come in the mail, and I was like, that's kind of weird. But with the government shutdown and all of that, and with it, we're going into the holiday season, I didn't really think much of it. But I get an email today saying, important update regarding your GlassesUSA.com order. So I was like, I thought it was gonna be like the frames, like this, the lens can't fit with the frames. Sorry about the reverse dog sneezing in the back, but okay. So I thought it was gonna be about the frames and something like that. No, so it's like, hi Elizabeth, we're writing to inform you that due to the recent UPS aircraft accident, your order was lost in transit. My glasses were on a plane that crashed and exploded. Like, I screamed. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I was shook. I was not expecting that in the slightest. Like, I thought it was gonna say something went wrong with my glasses, like that they weren't able to do it, something like that. But no, my glasses were blown up. I'm not mad at Glasses USA or UPS, because I know, like, they don't want a plane to crash, and for pilots to lose their lives, and I'm sure people on the ground have lost their lives. Like, nobody wants that to happen. So I am not upset with them or anything. Like, I get it. Stuff happens, and sometimes it's really big and violent and fiery. I was just so stunned when I saw this. Did not expect, because that plane was going to Honolulu, and that is like the complete opposite, that is that way, the complete opposite direction of where I am. So I'm thinking maybe like parts of the glasses, like maybe they build one part on the East Coast and then send for them to do another part of the production in another part of the country. I don't know, but a moment of silence. I was just not expecting that at all. But I read 66 pages in Invisible Child, so I don't know if I'm going to finish this tomorrow or not, because I have about 100 pages left of the book, and so I don't know if I'm going to finish it tomorrow or not, or if it's going to get pushed to another day, which, I mean, that is fine. Yeah, there's 525 pages, and I'm on 427. That's how much is left in the book, because the rest is notes, and yeah, notes and an index, like almost 100 pages of that, which is crazy. I don't have that many notes that I took today. We're just, you know, going through it. If Supreme's life had been a movie, that's how it was worded. He did not expect this plot twist, and I didn't either. Like, I forgot all about what led up to that. And then the next note is, yeah, some caseworkers are going to go speak with Dasani, you know, about her family. And I'm like, please do not mess this up for Dasani. I do not want anything bad to happen to her, but this is real life. And again, stuff happens. So I am worried to know where this is going to go. Even though this was 10 years ago, like, I am so curious, but obviously I'm not looking anything up because I don't want spoilers. But let's see here. I am going to be ending the vlog here. We have read over 100 pages every day this week. Yesterday was the day I read the most. I read 148 pages yesterday. I have not hauled any books this week. Good on me for not spending money. And yeah, it was, I haven't finished any books either, but I do think I will finish this one this week with our others, my mood read and my ebook. We might finish the mood read. I don't know if by the end of the week we'll have it finished or not. I'm not sure. We'll just have to see where everything goes. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it all the way through, leave a we'll do a Thanksgiving emoji in the comments below. And if you don't know anything about Thanksgiving, because I know not everybody who watches the videos are American, you can do some kind of food or fall emoji. That's cool, just to let me know you watched, because I do greatly appreciate it. But as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring that notification bell to be notified when all my videos go live. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye!